do want to reiterate for your listeners that I think sometimes we think that all of this takes a lot of time. Like, oh, I don't have time to integrate this into my busy schedule. I will argue that you don't not have time. You can get into alignment with yourself so easily. You don't need to meditate for 20 minutes. The benefits of meditation are between 5 and 10. That's literally adjusting your alarm 5 or 10 minutes, or your bedtime 5 to 10 minutes, right? Like, these are not things that you have to schedule, but if you practice them and start integrating them into your daily routine, the shift is going to organically happen. So I don't want people to think that this is one more thing that you have to do. I think it can be something very subtle to start, and then your practices are going to develop based on what resonates with you and what feels good in your body.
Hey guys, are you feeling burnt out or wanting a quick break away from the daily grind? Well, our friends over at Cyro Boca Place offer the ultimate destination for those seeking a blend of luxury wellness, adventure, and restoration. If you know me, you know I'm fully invested in health and well-being. So if you don't prioritize yourself first, how are you supposed to be showing up for others around you? Looking for an experience like this, head over to www.cyrohotels.com.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Master Your Life Beyond the Boardroom. I am your podcast host, Luke Beastall, and I have, a very, very exciting guest. She comes from United States of America, Indiana specifically, and we honestly have just been chatting. I think the energy has just been quite electric, to be honest, I have to say. She is a leadership and energetic alignment coach, which, to be honest, I don't know whether you guys have heard that actual combination before. I know I haven't. Don't know whether you have. And obviously Jess is super passionate about it. And we're going to be delving into what that actually looks like, what that means, but I guess really what Jess' story is. We've been talking a lot about connecting with your true identity, guys, obviously when you listen to this episode and other episodes. And I think it's really, really key to kind of check in and go deep. So I'm really excited for this conversation today. I'm going to sort of be quiet. And Jess, I'm going to welcome you in.
Thank you. Super excited to be here with you today.
No, absolutely as well. So just for sort of like the audience, coming into this, I know that they're going to be sort of thinking, okay, so I'm curious now. Leadership, energetic alignment.
Sure.
What brought you to kind of bring those two together?
So my background is as a school principal. So I think you called it head of school. Is that what it is in the UK?
Yeah, like head teacher, headmaster. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So, and I really was involved in the world of education from a very young age. I kind of knew from the time that I started school that I wanted to be a teacher. And so as a consequence of that and growing up in a society that is so career focused, I never really questioned my path. I intrinsically knew that's just where I was going to go. And so once I was done in the classroom, I kind of organically climbed that career ladder and I didn't ever stop to analyze it. Like I just went. And I never paused to check in with myself. And I had some rocky leadership experiences, both personally and with those around me, right? Like I went through some pretty tumultuous times. I led a school through COVID. I opened a brand new campus just post-COVID. We had a very large teacher walkout in the state of Arizona where I was leading at the time. And all of this was happening during my first couple of years of leadership. And the external environment was so chaotic. And I constantly was seeking a resource. I wish there was a book. I wish there was a conference. And I read the books. I went to the conferences. I sought the mentorship, but everything still felt so heavy and so chaotic around me. And by chance, I ended up going to a Deepak Chopra leadership retreat, and we really heavily focused on alignment, meditation, energetics. And I met with an Ayurvedic physician there. We were all assigned an opportunity to just kind of meet with one and go through, what was going on with our bodies physically and how we were feeling emotionally. And this doctor asked me one question that changed the course of everything. She said, "Do you know other people like you in your role?" And of course, I had a lot of friends and colleagues that were in similar positions, but I didn't really know anyone energetically who was carrying the weight like I was. And she said, just because you're good at your job doesn't mean it's meant for you. And that really stopped me. And I really had to evaluate how I got to where I was on my path. And I realized I was not leading from a place of alignment. I was not leading from a place of my core values. I was leading with others' core values and with their belief systems to try to accommodate them and their vision and their mission for where we were going. And once I realized that I could be good at something, but still understand that it wasn't for me, to recognize that that was not my purpose, it wasn't my path, then I was allowed to get back to myself and really dig into ways that I wanted to make an impact, ways that were innate for me to make an impact without burning out, overwhelmed, without the chaos, because I was chaotic internally. And that's when I realized we're seeking something external to fix these energetic problems that we have in our lives, when really the work begins inside of us. We cannot attract what we want outside of ourselves if we're not in right alignment internally. So I don't think that there is a separation between the two. I don't think there can be. And that's what I'm aiming to solve for not only our educational leaders, but our leaders in general. Whether you're a self-leader just of your household, whether you're a career professional, an entrepreneur, whatever the case may be.
Do you know what? I love that. I love the way you shared that, the aspect of that one question, the check-in, I guess, slowing down, bringing a bit of calm to the chaos. A lot of, again, what you just said earlier on, you just kept going,
We do that, right? Like in America, it's the American dream, right? Like you are
Absolutely.
supposed to graduate and go to college and find the right relationship and buy the house and have the kids. And I don't know that we're stopping and asking ourselves, is this in right alignment with who I came here to be? Because that's such a cookie cutter approach to such a vast, diverse world of opportunities, all of the different places we can go, but we're not taught to honor that pause and check in with ourselves. And when we do, man, the world explodes. I mean, I literally can remember sitting there and that question hit me and it was like fireworks. Everything shifted for me from that moment.
It came bang on, right moment.
Yeah. And it was like there was the person you were before, and now there is the person that you are after. And there was just no going back. I tried to force it along for a little bit, and no one wants that. When you are forcing something that is not meant for you. Yeah. And I think what helped me even more is realizing that when we live in our alignment, when we live in our truth, we help others live in theirs. So while that school that I was so passionate about loved me as a leader, I wasn't meant to be their leader long term. I had served my purpose and it was for someone else. It was their destiny to come in and be the leader that school needed. And I had to step aside. I had to get past my own ego and my own fear of how I was going to be perceived to allow all of that alignment to happen. And I think that's where we get stuck sometimes. We feel like, oh, I've made this commitment. Oh, I need to honor this path that I'm on. But why do we do that if it's not right for us? We're only holding ourselves back from our true purpose, and we're holding someone else back from living theirs.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, the main impact is yourself because it starts with you, but actually you're impacting others as well because you're not actually being true to who you want to become. So just on that note then, we'll get sort of to the time frame. If you look back at the old Jess now, and now you're this aligned Jess, you're in this world that you're so deeply aligned and connected with. What do you see in the old Jess? And what's in the new Jess that you're really proud of?
So I spend a lot of time with the old Jess because there's a lot of healing that has had to happen there.
Okay.
I think that sometimes we think that we just move on, but we're still those previous versions of ourselves. It's not like you flip a switch and the old you is gone. We have to spend time digging into and honoring that person. I'm not digging into her and spending time with her to criticize her. I'm
Absolutely.
getting very curious about who she was and why she did the things that she does, because that's going to help me be more relatable in my practice with others. So I think it's really a journey of self-love and forgiveness, because I was my own worst critic. I was never good enough. I didn't work hard enough. There weren't enough hours in the day for me to prove myself. And no one was expecting that of me except for me. So I had to do a lot of releasing of perfectionistic tendencies, a lot of over striving, believing that overwork was validating.
Right.
And I've just really poured a lot of love into her, like spend a lot of time just honoring her and her journey because she did do amazing things. I am proud of what she accomplished, but the aligned Jess doesn't lead from that chaos and from that place of pressure. She leads from a place of trust. I can trust that the universe is going to bring me what I need if I am doing my job to be in alignment. And that's what was missing before. I was forcing, not flowing. And I thought that I was trusting my path, but I was forcing that path into fruition. And that's where the resistance comes in. And we've all felt that. You can feel it when your gut doesn't feel good, when your chest feels heavy, the anxiety that you get before you walk into a meeting, or the Sunday scaries before you wake up Monday morning. I think that's all very relevant. And we're just not spending enough time checking in with that to really honor the journey and what we might want. Like, are we asking ourselves, what do you need? And I don't know that we're doing that enough. So the short answer of your question is I was self-governing from a place of chaos and force versus now I'm self-leading from a place of alignment and clarity.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it brings a smile. I mean, obviously the guys watching on this video will see me smiling. If they're watching it, well, it's refreshing to hear this because I couldn't agree more with that checking in. But actually, again, not like hating or putting any negative spin on the old version. It's just a new shift. Obviously, there's been, I think what you've clearly, said in the leadership part is deep work within. And again, it's that awareness of like trying to keep up with what the expectation is, maybe what people deem you as. For you, though, if you can recall a moment in this, version of Jess that was forced a little bit, felt this pressure, kept going and going and going. Is there a moment that you hit like a breaking point? Was there a moment that you thought maybe this is not the right thing, but you carried on?
So I'd never stopped and had the moment where I thought this isn't for me. I was so passionate about what I was doing that it never even occurred that it wasn't what I wanted, or maybe not even what I wanted, but not in alignment with who I came here to be. And I think for me, I remember mornings of peeling myself out of bed. I would go make the coffee, and then I was still laying on the bathroom floor, and I'm like, I just had no physical energy. I remember pulling up to that school and feeling what used to be such a feeling of pride and joy and energy and excitement. And I was flat. I had flatlined. And it wasn't because I didn't love it. It's just because I couldn't anymore. And I think that's what the universe does for us. And you can call that God or spirit or source, whatever it is that you believe in. But there is something that when you are in a situation that is not meant for you, the universe, if you don't take action, if you don't listen to that instinct, the universe is going to put obstacles in your place that is going to lead you away and in a different direction. It's going to help support you in that decision making. And so for me, it was kind of that smack in the face. It was my physical health started failing. That was impacting my emotional health, my mental health. And I just couldn't do it anymore. I remember getting on the phone and calling my dad and saying, I have to come home. I can't do this anymore. I have to come home. And I couldn't tell you why. It was just a knowing. And I think the universe did that. He was going to keep putting barriers in front of me that were not allowing me to lead from that flow. And I just got to the point where I just couldn't. It wasn't a moment. It wasn't a situation or a scenario. It was the buildup of years of not checking in with my knowing.
Yeah. But obviously you've said quite clearly you loved it. You was really passionate about it. It wasn't as though you was not enjoying it and you then still struggled to show up. Obviously your body was, I guess, tired. It was sort of feeling a bit of block, like you say. There was something sort of giving you a signal and making your consciousness go, oh, okay, something's not quite right here. How long did you feel like that?
I think everything kind of came all at once. I went through a divorce during this time as well. I just wasn't really physically well. I was overworking. I was overstriving. You know, when one area of our lives starts to kind of unravel, we overcompensate in others. And I was very much guilty of that. So I was really pouring myself into work and into that school. And I was looking for that to kind of fulfill my sense of self-worth during that difficult time. And I think it all just came out once. And it was just heavy. It was heavy.
Yeah. You've spoken about a heavy, but it all came at once. The common thing, thread that you said there about this empty period, you know, obviously feeling like, oh my gosh, my worth's gone, that you sort of try and fill it with the workload or, you know, to keep things busy, to keep things going.
How we validate ourselves in society, right? Like our titles carry so much weight. And that could be a title in a relationship, the title of wife, the title in our careers, the title of principal. And we put so much of our identity into those titles. So when we start to shift, when those titles no longer exist or when they start to unravel, it's a real crisis internally for a lot of us.
Yeah, it really is. And I think, you know, just what you said there about the titles, absolutely a lot of people sort of, the identity goes towards that. They're not being the true self. They're sort of egotistical around whatever it may be in sort of their world. So for you then, I mean, I'm so intrigued about this retreat because obviously what made you go for it?
I think I knew. So when I started kind of my spiritual journey, I really became involved in meditation. I was reading a lot of Joe Dispenza books and Deepak Chopra, and I was just really on a journey for myself. No one was really guiding that or leading that, but I was just very curious. And I really had this inkling that there was something so much greater and deeper that I was chasing, that I was seeking, but I wasn't sure what it was. And when this retreat came up, it was when I was kind of on the tail end of my divorce and really starting to consider whether or not my career was meant for me and whether I was in right alignment with myself. And it wasn't very far away from me. So it was located in Phoenix. It was in Cave Creek. It was a group of very like-minded individuals, but they were coming from across the world. And it was a very holistic approach. And I don't think that Western medicine gets it right. We oftentimes are like, oh, you're not sleeping well. Here's a sleeping pill. You're feeling some anxiety. Here's an anxiety pill. We're treating a symptom and not the root cause. And I knew that's not what I wanted. I didn't want a sleeping pill to sleep better at night. I wanted to sleep peacefully because my soul was at peace. So this retreat seemed very in alignment with what I was seeking. And I mean, it was just a beautiful group of people. There were probably about 20 of us in this cohort, and we all had individual rooms. So there was time to be very solitary, but there was time for that communion as well. And every day we would wake up, we would have our meditation, we would have a period of silence. We would then have breakfast together. There would be some type of learning. There was an element of massage treatments, body treatments, but not like, oh, I have a knot in my back, I need a massage. This was like, we're releasing something emotional. Tell me what your intention is. Let's gain clarity. Let's release the stuck energy. And then we would end our day in a very similar manner, back to our meditation, perhaps some yoga, candlelight, dinner together, quiet time. It was just this time where you had permission to get in touch with yourself, to just be with yourself. And that was such a novel idea for me because when you're in a marriage, I don't know that we make a lot of time for self-growth and self-discovery outside of partnership. I don't know that we're always really intentional in our careers of like self-reflecting. Oftentimes we're doing it in a group setting and the dialogue can become very negative and very critical and judgmental. So this was such a peaceful place with such permission to evolve, with such permission to shed what wasn't serving you. And that's such a life skill, right? Like it's something that I carried with me. At any time, we're allowed to evolve. We don't need permission. Why do we keep asking for permission? You know, so it was just such a blessing. It was just divine timing that I found that retreat.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you spoke about meditation, slowing down, that space. How did you feel in the silence? Like what did you sort of learn?
It's uncomfortable. I don't think there is any part of self-discovery that is comfortable. It becomes more exciting along the way once you have the tools to really understand what's happening as you're shedding those layers and becoming someone new. It gets more entertaining. It becomes more gamified in some aspects, but it's difficult. It's uncomfortable because when do you sit around in silence? Unless that is an ingrained practice. We are going to put on a podcast while we're cleaning. Yeah. Or we've got something in the background while we're driving. We have audiobooks. We have constant stimulation. So to embrace silence is really nerve-wracking because you don't know what thought is going to float through your head that you're going to pay attention to because it's quiet enough to recognize it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree. Yeah, we're always stimulated. We're always on speed, 100 miles an hour. So stillness for you then, what did you learn most in you as a person from stillness, just from silence? What came up for you? Was it something like, this like a repetitive thought or anything? I don't
know that there was a repetitive thought, but I think the more that you practice sitting in stillness with yourself, the more you realize that the answers that we are seeking are not coming from some external source. They are coming from a place within. When you get still, the answers that you are seeking come to you. The opportunities that you are seeking come to you because that energy that you're creating by really knowing yourself, by really knowing what you want to call into your life, you become a magnet for that. Like attracts like. That's the law of attraction, right? So if I'm busy, if I'm chaotic, if I'm always filling my mind with this or that, that's what's coming back to me. That same energy I'm drawing back in, the chaos, the busy schedule, the over obligating, all of those must do's because I'm tumultuous inside. So I'm calling in tumult back to me. But when I sit in stillness and I'm just listening to myself, I'm getting curious. Where do I feel this sensation in my body? Why do I feel that way? Where is this coming from? When I start to get still and listen and pay attention, now I'm cultivating that inner peace, that inner knowing, that self-confidence that I know who I am. I know how I'm going to respond in certain situations. I know what I need. The universe is like, now that you know, I can give it to you. Now I can give you what you need. Now your palms are open to receive it. So I think that's what stillness did for me, is it helped me clarify that I know what I need to know. I just need to get still enough to hear the answers.
It's the way you say things, honestly, just so good because it's like an opening. Your mind's coming away from maybe what it's always been used to. So it's like slowly but surely maybe opening that door and that light's getting brighter.
It's learning a new way of being. And I think we have learned so much throughout the course of our life, right? Like listen to this new podcast, read this new book, learn this new strategy. We're constantly adding more. And I think the beauty is once we're kind of done with that initial striving, now the learning is actually a process of unlearning. It's unlearning old ways of being, unhealthy patterns, old wounding that doesn't serve us. Whereas the beginning of life, I think, is piling it on and adding more. I think this phase of life is letting go. And both phases are beautiful in different ways, but there is something really special about discarding that which no longer serves you and coming back to home in your body. There's something really beautiful about that.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, just in terms of that, then about that bit where you said that we kind of through life we keep piling stuff on, learn, information, then it's like unlearning that process. Right. What have you unlearned about yourself leaning into this new being?
I think I'm unlearning. So to go back, the biggest one is to seek that external validation.
Okay.
So in the past, after a long day, it would be like, phone a friend, right? Find my lifeline. Like who's going to listen to me vent, validate the decision that I made, not really coddle me, but hold my emotion for me because it's too big for me. And if that friend didn't answer or that colleague didn't answer, I was going to go down the list to the next. I was really seeking external support. And so what I'm unlearning is that there really isn't anybody else out there that can make me feel the way that I need to feel. No one else can bring me peace. I can't depend on my partner to bring me peace. I can't depend on my girlfriend to give me the amount of love that I'm seeking. That has to come from me first, and then it's going to come from all of these other places. But if I don't feel at peace with myself, if I don't love on myself first, nothing external is going to fill that need within me. Not a medication, not a therapist, not another human being, not another career, not another hobby. I have to cultivate what I want to feel inside of me first, and then I will see it externally, not the other way around.
Yeah, that external validation, I'm sure the listeners here could probably put their hand up and go, no, she's got me.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm chasing, you know?
It's so hard. It's so hard. And we live in a world where we're so critiqued. It's so easy to feel judged.
Easy.
And it's really hard to be vulnerable in that environment. And I work with an alignment coach. So he has transformed my life. He doesn't really engage as much in the leadership aspect, but he's very engaged in the energetics and my human design and how that looks astrologically. And he has really helped me hone, there's nothing outside of you that you are seeking. It is all internal. And once you are right with your soul, the rest of it is going to come. Like, you don't have to worry anymore because your energy is going to attract exactly what is meant for you. If something is meant for you, there's no way that you can't have it unless you close your palms and you just resist. But when you open your palms and trust, gosh, amazing things happen, but it's so uncomfortable. I'm sitting in an uncomfortable phase right now. After you've had years of like, I will have a steady paycheck. I will have financial security.
Oh, yeah.
You know how it is. It is scary. It is hard. You are vulnerable. But gosh, the feeling of peace that you have, that's the security. That's the magic. The magic isn't in the paycheck. And I wish society recognized that more.
The fact that you've taken that leap as well, obviously you've got a coach, you've got a different perspective, brilliant stuff. So many, I'm going to say magical pieces there, which just for the audience hearing the support that you have, but also always bringing it back to you, I think is really key. So just from because I'd love to know this, I think there's going to be fear. I think a lot of people are going to probably feel uncomfortable even me asking this question. Even if you can share your perspective, what do you think most people fear about going within?
I think it's unexplored territory. I think that we are afraid of what we might uncover. And there's so many layers to this. Like, there is going within present us. So the us we are today. And that can be very confronting because I think we immediately see the impact of decisions and whether they're aligned or not, and how they are not only impacting our own health and well-being, but that of those around us. I think we can easily start to see the ripple effect. When we are not in right alignment, it really can trigger misalignment in others as well. And I think we're taught as a society to place a lot of blame. So going inside is now all about self-responsibility. We are now accountable in a very different way to ourselves and to others. And that's very confronting when I know that my mindset, that my thought patterns, that my decisions impact all of the outcomes in my life. There's a gravity to that. That, in the past, I could blame a bad day on a lot of different people, but today I can't really do that. Today I'm like, okay, I think my energy might have been a little misaligned there. I am also culpable in that conversation. There is also a role that I played in the decision that was made that led to this event. And again, that silence is scary because we're not accustomed to it. It's the fear of the unknown. You don't know what's going to happen when you start on that journey. And then you hear people like me that are like, I blew up my whole life. And you're like, yeah, I'm not prepared for that. I'm not sure that I want that. And it's not that for everyone. However, I don't know anyone that's doing this deep work that hasn't had a huge revelation that something has to change. And change is scary. Change is uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think you going back to that moment in your life that everything sort of came down at once. Everything, like you said, you felt heavy, got heavier. and then it became something's got to shift, something's got to change. Obviously for you, you've also now gone into the world of running your own business, which again is scary, but you're still finding peace in that. You've gone and done a lot of work on your core values. Again, I wanted to ask that question, and you've again beautifully said, because you can probably imagine when you've got a conversation about go and work within or go and take some space, some stillness, people are like, oh gosh, here we go. Here's another spiritual woo-woo person. What's that going to do for me? I'm sure you hear a lot of that. So did you feel that? Did you have any sort of feelings like, this is not me? And
in the beginning, I for sure did. I'm like, well, I'm not a person that can meditate, right? Like I'm on the go all the time. My mind has 1,000 open tabs. I have things to do and problems to solve. And I'm a fixer, I'm a doer. And so I did dismiss it. I did dismiss it as something that was not for me. However, I am so grateful that I committed to a practice, because there really isn't anything woo-woo about it, which I think is why my title is important. The leadership plus the energetic alignment is, hey, we need to get an energetic alignment with ourselves. But once we do that, we are going to create some really strategic success systems that are practical and logical, and that can be step 1, 2, 3 easily implemented for you and for your team. And that's where I think that true magic happens, is it's not one or the other. It has to be a combination of both. So yes, I was very critical of the meditating, the stillness, the grounding, the connection to the earth. I'm like, sure, in moderation. Yeah, it's good to take a walk outside and get some fresh air. I can buy into that. But like taking off your shoes and grounding onto the earth, like feeling the grass underneath the soles of your feet, there's something powerful there. There's something that allows us to get back to the root of who we really are. And I didn't understand that before. I was very dismissive. And I think woo-woo is such a great word, because I have felt at times throughout this evolution, and I've even said it, oh, I'm becoming a little bit woo-woo. But I don't think it's woo-woo. I'm coming into myself, and that is beautiful. And if I'm not in the right space with myself, how am I ever going to lead someone else well? How am I ever going to have the team that I want? Like, there is such strength in knowing who we are and what we bring to the table, and what makes me passionate and what energizes me and what shuts me off. And if that lights up someone else on my team, that's perfect. Right? But if I don't know those things about myself, I'm not going to have a team that's as engaged or as efficient or as productive or as impactful as I want it to be, because I don't know those things about myself. So yeah, the meditation practice was a commitment. It was kind of like going to the gym. Like once you're there, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that I invested this time in myself. But the putting on the clothes and the shoes and the walking out the door feels like a chore. So finding the meditation or creating the space, like that felt very arduous to me. But afterwards, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just learned so much about myself in just a few minutes of stillness.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarity in what you're sharing, which is great. And for the listeners to understand, it's clear that obviously you can't give what you don't have. It's sort of resounding with you, grounding yourself, that stillness. You've spoken a lot about team, right? So it's not about really doing the selfishness before, maybe doing things for everybody else. It's sort of you're doing it for you, but then you're bringing people with you. You spoke about that cohesion, which I think is really, really great, because people are sort of dismissing that inner work, which actually that's all of the work, honestly. Yeah, basically,
is the work. And I think, I'm an author. I love to consume literature. I am such a, I am a consumer. Like, I want to learn more. I want to become better at my craft. I want to understand things from a different perspective. But all of that still has a place. We just can't receive it to the level that we need to receive it if it's not right within ourselves first. And I think that's the piece we've really been overlooking. And I don't love the self-care buzzword, because I think we have really made it something superficial. Like, self-care is a spa treatment and getting my nails done and having a girls' day and going to the gym, and all of those things are good and well. But I would rather call it self-alignment, Like when you can master that, when you know, well, I am walking into a tense meeting and I better not only be prepared logistically for what's coming in this meeting, but I need to be prepared emotionally. I need to be grounded. I need to be so sure in who I am and what's best for my team. What are my core values? How are the decisions that we're about to make aligned to them? When you go into a meeting with something so at peace with who you are and what you're bringing to the table, it's going to change that meeting for everyone involved. Your alignment impacts everyone else around you. The energy that I walked into my school building with impacted my students, my teachers, my front office staff, my visitors, my parents. And I knew when I wasn't in right alignment, it wasn't going to be a good day. It's like when you wake up late, you don't get up for your alarm, and then you spill the coffee on the way out the door and you hit every red light on the way to work. That's because of your energy. But if you can pause when that alarm goes off and say, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath. I've got 5 minutes to meditate this morning. I'm going to listen to my meditation while I make my coffee. I'm now grounded. I'm now not rushing. Things become more aligned for me. But when we start our day in chaos, that's what we attract. So I think we have to take some responsibility for these practices, whether you call them self-care practices or not, these alignment practices, because that is what your team is going to respond to throughout the day. So if you don't take the time to be right with yourself, your team is going to suffer. That is your leadership. Your self-leadership is your team leadership. That is your executive leadership. And I think that's the piece that we're not discussing. We're being very dismissive of this as a woo-woo fluffy practice that's a nice to have. It's not a nice to have. This is the work. This is essential to the work that you do with your teams.
Yeah, it's priority. You know, it's a must. I mean, again, talking about self-care, you're right. What people deem self-care as is, like you say, getting your nails done, your hair, like you say, going to the gym, spa. But actually, you know, I think the alignment piece is really powerful. I actually just want to ask you on this alignment piece, because maybe people might, I know probably maybe people might be thinking, especially when they're not, it's bringing this awareness, isn't it? They might be thinking, how would I know if I was aligned? You know, what would I feel? What would I start seeing? Like, so for you, like, when did you know that you was aligned in what you was doing?
So I will say that we all experience alignment differently based on our personality. So I don't know if you know anything about human design. Does that resonate with you at all?
It actually doesn't. So feel free to.
So human design is really, it's kind of like I don't want to say a personality test because that's not what it is, but it is similar if I had to like give you a very baseline comparison, but there's no test. It's based on the date, time, and place of your birth. And that basically says that there is a certain vibration that was occurring at that geographic location, at that date and that time that you were born, and that impacts the way that your energy shows up in the world. So human design calculates that for you. You can actually get it calculated for free online. So if you have your birth certificate, you do need to know the exact time of your birth. But you can go to myhumandesign.com. That's not anything sponsored by me, just a website that I've utilized.
I love that.
Plug in your info and it will tell you what type of energy you have. And there's 5 different types. So I am a generator, which means that when I am in joy, when I am generating joy authentically, other people around me experience joy. When I start to feel frustration, that is my cue that I am misaligned. That is my cue that I am not in flow. So when I start to feel resistance, when I start to feel like I have to force, when I start to feel like blockages, like, man, I just can't get past whatever it is in front of me, then I become frustrated and I know I might be making a decision that's not actually in alignment with my authentic self. So for me, it shows up as frustration. For other energy types, it can show up differently. So I would recommend, 1, learning your human design type, because it has a lot of implications for how we make decisions as humans in our leadership practice. But also, if you start to honor that stillness, you're going to start to feel things differently in your body. So when you take the time throughout the day to just say, what percentage of this energy that I'm carrying is actually mine? what percentage of what I am experiencing is actually mine? Did I just have a negative conversation with a colleague and it's putting me in a crummy mood? Is that energy mine, or am I carrying that for someone else? And when you start to check in with yourself, you can start to feel, I'm carrying this in my chest, in my stomach, in my head, in my shoulders, wherever it happens to be. And you can start to say, I think there's something I need to let go of. There's something I need to release. There's something that doesn't feel good in my body. That's one of the first places we can recognize our emotions, is where they're sitting in our stomachs or in our hearts or in our, wherever it happens to be.
So, yeah, thank you for actually saying that and plugging that in, just for somebody to sort of like go, because do you know, it's interesting because I did actually ask somebody actually asked me this. She's sort of into crystals and all that kind of stuff, and she just asked me, Luke, I could find something out for you. So I guess it is this, because she did say, obviously, what date was you born and the time you was born and the location and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I completely dismissed it. I won't lie. I just didn't. I just totally forgot to sort of send it over. But that's actually really interesting, and the energy as well, and how that works. So when you put that human design in, what did you feel? Did you instantly, oh, that's absolutely me? Or did you sort of go, nah?
So human design isn't meant to be like the Bible, right? Like it's meant to be something that you play with, something that you consult with, like seek to, get curious about. But I did learn something about how I make decisions. And it says that my authority makes decisions in my gut. So it is either for me a yes or a no. And it's almost immediate. Like when something is for me, it will light me up. And I am like, oh my gosh, I have 5 more ideas of like how we can implement that. And if it's a no for me, it will just fall flat. Like it'll just be a no. There's really not a middle ground. And that really helped me, because so many times in my leadership, people would say, how did you know that was going to happen? And I'm like, I don't know. It was a this or a that for me. I just instinctually felt it in my gut that was a poor decision and we shouldn't go down that path. But we live in a world where we are supposed to make a list of pros and cons and logically make decisions, but I don't make decisions like that. So I was living in this world where I was being trained to make decisions in a way that didn't feel like me. And so I could make the right decision, but I never felt good about it, because the approach and the way that I went about it wasn't who I was as a person. So now that I know that about myself, and when somebody gives me, what do you want for dinner? And I'm like, no, I need an A or a B. That's how I make decisions. I want Chinese or Italian. Oh, I definitely want Italian, right? Or whatever it is. Like I'm a yes or a no, an A or a B type of person. Now that I know that actually helps me explain myself to other people. So when they come to me with a problem, they know that I'm going to better serve them if they're like, hey, I have 2 options. Help me weigh these out. It's a yes or a no. It's a this or a that. But not everybody makes decisions like that. Some people make decisions based on emotional clarity. So they actually have to spend some time riding an emotional wave. And when that wave settles, they'll know their answer. But they have to ride the high, they have to get upset, they have to cry it out, whatever it is, and then they'll have their clarity. So when we understand these aspects of ourselves and how these show up in our teams, how these authorities show up in our teams, now I can say, I'm not frustrated with you because you're taking a while to make a decision. I know that for you, you are going to have to sleep on this. It can't be a decision that you make today because you need time. Like you need space. And other people can say, it's a heck yes right now because they're like me. And we're like, okay, let's go. But we have to accommodate that not everybody responds in that same way. So for me, uncovering all of this has really just been deepening that self-discovery and really allowing me to get really curious about why I show up in the world the way that I do. It's been very validating.
Yeah, validating in what way?
Just because I think when you live in a society that is so brain-based and so cerebral, you can kind of feel like you have to over-explain yourself. And now I don't feel like I have to do that. I don't have to expend that extra energy because I know that I'm showing up authentically. And if my yes is a yes, I can simply say, I just have that gut feeling and my gut is rarely wrong and I own it. You know, it doesn't mean that I always make the right decision. Sometimes I'm a little overzealous, right? But I can tell you why I'm choosing what I'm choosing without the need to go into all of this minutia that I don't relate to.
Okay, so if you look at your old decision making, stuff like that, so did you feel like there was justification? Did you have to sort of explain all of the time why you made that decision? Because I think a lot of people probably go, I kind of do that most days right now.
Yeah, we explain everything to everyone. We are craftsmen at over explaining. Like, we're just so good at it. And I don't know why we've become so, it's almost like a reaction. Like, someone asks why you did something and you feel this, like you're being judged, and you have to justify and explain. And sometimes it just is what it is. Like, why can't you be you and me be me? And again, in a leadership position, yes, you do have to explain. You do have to share a rationale. You do have to collaborate. So I'm not saying that there isn't a place for explaining, but when you understand yourself better, when you know how your team has processed a decision, it becomes easier to justify, and people trust you. When you're living in right alignment with yourself and when you're in flow, other people get to be in flow, and that builds trust. That builds respect. You're now learning and growing and doing and becoming together, and that feels good. When you're not living in your authenticity, you're not giving other people permission to do that either. And that's when we get stuck in our teams. That's when we start to feel chaotic and stuck and stagnant and stale and upset with one another. But when we have permission to be who we are and come to the table with our own unique gifts and everyone is welcome, gosh, that's beautiful. Amazing things can happen.
I think that authenticity piece as well that you just shared there, and absolutely, it's mad, isn't it, what happens around you when you're not authentic? It rubs off in a way. Yeah. And then there becomes those barriers and walls, and there's a lot of different words you say that absolutely resonate. And I hope the guys listening really take a lot away from just these things that you're sharing, Jess, because, the authenticity, the peace, deep work within, all that kind of stuff is so key. This has been a question in my mind as you were sharing there about the leadership part.
Sure.
If there is a difference, I don't know, obviously you'll tell me, what's been the biggest difference in your leadership or leadership itself from being like a principal to running your own business?
I think now it is my energy solely that is driving my ship, right?
Okay.
And that is a blessing and it's a curse. So I'm not really around a lot of other people's energy right now because the bulk of my work is virtual. So in the school environment, and it's interesting to understand this too. So I'll back up for a second. So if I get off track, redirect me. But there are emotional and non-emotional people in the world. And this, again, is something I learned from human design. And this does not mean that we don't all have emotions. It means that we process them differently. So if you are a emotional person, you're the kind of person who might wake up on the wrong side of the bed, and that's the energy that you carry. Like, you are the creator of your emotions. Non-emotional people take on the emotions of others. So my mood is dictated by the energy around me. I am a non-emotional person. So when I walked into a staff meeting, if the state of my staff was disgruntled or if the energy was disrupted in some way, I would carry that with me, and I was going to try to solve every person's personal problems, professional problems, and I felt that responsibility. And I would carry that home with me at night. I would wake up with it in the morning because I'm a fixer. Now that I'm in my own energy, that's really when I started to realize, man, like, I have to be very cognizant when I am in a room of other people to protect my energy. That's why I asked the question earlier, what percentage of this energy am I carrying is actually mine? Because I will take on, if you're in a good mood, I will ride that wave with you all day. Like, we will have the best day together. I will be like your perfect sidekick. But if you are down, if you are having a hard day, I am like going to feel your hard day times 10. And I'm going to take it on, and I'm going to become that sadness, that frustration, whatever it is that you're experiencing. I'm a chameleon in that way, energetically. So now that I am leading myself, it's very important that I check in with me. And when I go out to an event, when I go to the airport, when I'm preparing to speak in front of a crowd, I have to put almost a little barrier of protection around myself, knowing that I'm going to be very susceptible to what's happening around me. And now I live a life where I don't have to worry about that as much. So that can really throw me off. I can become very overstimulated. Whereas in the past, I'm like, gosh, how did I do this every day? How did I lead a school of 800 students and 100 staff members when this is how I hold energy? So I can see things that I would have done differently now, knowing what I know about myself. But yeah, there's something to be said. Again, digging into that human design and learning these things about yourself is really enlightening.
Yeah, I think just in it, that exposing yourself to that, again, it's not like it's going to cost you anything. It's a little bit of time, a little bit of research, and it opens doors. Like I say, I think what was key as well, what you shared very early on, just was how you'd sort of gone on a little bit of this self-discovery, doing a little bit of practice, and then obviously it sort of led you to that opportunity to be right in front of you, which was that retreat, and then everything, started to shift.
I do want to reiterate for your listeners that I think sometimes we think that all of this takes a lot of time. Like, oh, I don't have time to integrate this into my busy schedule. I will argue that you don't not have time. You can get into alignment with yourself so easily. You don't need to meditate for 20 minutes. The benefits of meditation are between 5 and 10. That's literally adjusting your alarm 5 or 10 minutes, or your bedtime 5 to 10 minutes. Audio journaling. People are like, oh, I don't like to journal. The thought of journaling. Use the note app on your phone and just talk to yourself as you're getting ready for the day. Get all of the cobwebs out of your brain and somewhere else so that you are clear and you can start your day with clarity. It doesn't have to make sense, but man, when I talk to myself, sometimes I learn things that I did not know existed, or a feeling will pop up and I'm like, oh, I didn't know I felt that, because I'm not regulating. I'm not editing as I'm writing, right? Like I'm just speaking freely. So that's a practice that we can do. There's tapping where you're releasing energy.
Yeah.
That's such an easy one. And it only takes 5 to 10 minutes. Like these are not things that you have to schedule, but if you practice them and start integrating them into your daily routine, the shift is going to organically happen. So I don't want people to think that this is one more thing that you have to do. I think it can be something very subtle to start, and then your practices are going to develop based on what resonates with you and what feels good in your body.
Yeah, I mean, I can challenge that with people as well. Definitely have the time. Like I say, slight adjustment. Start small baby steps, stack them up. You'll naturally move into it rather than feeling like, oh my gosh, this is too much. And even people hearing your story today, just, you started out small, that you wouldn't have just like thrown yourself in the deep end with all the sort of stresses and responsibilities.
I don't recommend doing that. That can be, that's like a cold plunge for the first time and saying, hey, I'm going to sit in here for 5 minutes. I do not recommend. But are there benefits? Yeah. Do you ease yourself into it? Do you work yourself up? Do you build that stamina? We have spiritual capacity and energetic capacity, just like we have physical capacity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, obviously this has been, by the way, we are getting towards the end, which is like, I mean, I think we could go on for another hour, really, even just going into the energy side of things, because I think that's something that I'm big on, which is energy, especially with obviously what we do day to day, but also just everyday life and vibing off people's energy.
So becoming a dad back in 2023 has definitely been challenging at times. Being on this entrepreneur journey, having multiple businesses, it can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. One way to kick off your personal development journey is nestled in the heart of Montenegro. Syro Boca Place offers more than just a lifestyle experience. It is the ultimate active lifestyle hotel. Whether you're looking to rejuvenate in this state-of-the-art recovery lab, take a dip in the 25-meter half Olympic pool with a retractable roof, or explore the stunning trails of Boca Bay, there is something for everyone. And if you're like me, who wants to stay active and experience what is on offer, so if you're looking to elevate your travel experience and feel better than when you arrived, to get in on the experience, head over to www.syrohotels.com.
This is a question though that I ask every single guest. I'd love to hear sort of your perspective on it. So, Jess, what does mastering your life mean to you?
Goodness, mastering my life doesn't have a singular answer. And I think it can look different every day. And giving yourself that permission to evolve and to be in a constant state of becoming, I think is mastering your life. Giving yourself permission to grow, to change, to evolve, to let go of what doesn't serve you, and to not feel like you have to explain that choice to anyone. As long as it is right with you and your soul, I think that's mastering your life. I think our purpose is to be love, is to be here to give in some way. And that's going to look very different for you than it is for me, than it is for your listeners. And that's okay. That's what makes us beautiful. We need all of the unique gifts that we bring. So I think mastering our life is giving ourselves permission to be the gift that we were sent here to be to others.
Thank you for sharing that. Really, really unbelievable little finish part of the episode. And it really does tie in well, by the way. Obviously, once you listen back to this, so what we've spoken about, and then to put that at the end, it's a really nice little finish. So look, if any of the listeners are wanting to connect with you, maybe start a conversation or just find out more about obviously what you do with your leadership and your energetic alignment coaching, where can they find you?
So I can be found primarily on Instagram. So it's at Dear Jess Lead with Love, and everything is underscored. So I'm sure you can plop that into
We'll plop it in,
or something for them.
We will. Yeah.
And then LinkedIn, I'm at Jessica Steele. So just my name, and email is a great way to touch base with me one-on-one. So Jess at dearjessapp.com. So all great ways to connect.
Amazing. Well, obviously, I'll make sure if they're not sure, again, everything will be in the show notes so that,
Perfect.
They can, connect with you, find out more about you. But just the final thing from me, Jessica, it's been amazing, honestly, amazing to have this conversation with you. You've got great energy and just, you've got a lot of power in what you're doing. So thank you for sharing it with us today.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here with you guys today.